We spent like 5 minutes talking about body pillows. Like, let's not get this twisted, Amanda.
Welcome to Wow of True, the podcast of your wildest memes.
We're here to dissect the entire internet, something normal to want and possible to achieve. I'm science fiction author, not your attorney, and Korean culture expert, Isabel J.
And I'm Amanda Silberling, an internet culture reporter who has hair. Anyone could be famous on the internet, so why not us?
That was so ominously stated.
Yeah, this is the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast. Okay, so for those of you at home, we are recording from a new location, which is our university, in a setup that is like 10 times better than the setup that we usually use. And now we can look at each other when this is happening.
We feel very professional, and Zach is here, the producer. Hi, Zach. And also Joe is here.
Hi, Joe.
Isabel was at Penn to do a thing, and then the place I used to work at Penn, the Kelly Writer's House, has a recording studio. And I was like, what if we did the podcast at the recording studio? And also Joe is here. So with approximately 2 minutes notice, we were like, hey, be on the podcast. Why not?
Yeah, I told a lot of not teenagers, they're like 22, to post, because like I was there to talk about how to do your writing career and your professional career at the same time, and I was like, yeah, you should be posting, and then I was like, oh no, I've consigned them to posting.
Isabel did say the word Homestuck.
Like multiple times.
Yeah.
I was at the tour offices yesterday, and I did. Wait, should I talk about the tour offices? Is that a fun like intro thing before we talk about 4B and before we explain who Joe is, like conceptually? Do you want to be explained as to who you are?
I mean, whatever works. I'm fine, like, sort of being an abstract concept, or I'm like, fine being, like, concretized a little bit.
Yeah, you would like that, wouldn't you?
Joe's a figment of your imagination.
That would be actually really concerning.
Yeah.
Fight Club-ass relationship.
I don't love that.
Are we hard launching on the podcast?
Yeah, we're hard launching on the podcast. No, I think the soft launch is, like, every time that they've been sitting on my couch while I'm recording and, like, making faces at me and or posting.
Yeah. Sorry, I actually just got totally sniped by wondering how much, if any, AO3 fanfiction there is about Fight Club, saying that Tyler Durden is actually in a relationship with the main character.
Oh, like a lot.
Oh, really?
Like a normal amount.
Is a lot a normal amount?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
obviously they're fucking. Wait, okay, I want to talk about one thing at the tour offices. We're going to go in order. First, we're going to talk about my trip to the tour offices, Isabel's day out. Then we're going to be like, who is this guy at this podcast? And then we're going to talk about the 4B movement.
You're going to hand this to your editor, and, like, they're going to be like, I can't do anything with this.
No.
Like, I have to try and find a way to splice this to make sense, or just...
No, it's fine. They've gotten worse from us.
Oh, they've gotten way worse from us.
That's great.
This is going to be, like, the nicest recorded episode of Wow True ever, because we're in a real studio.
And there will never be one this good again.
Yep.
Hello, this is Amanda from the future, and in a twist of dramatic irony, I'm actually editing the episode, so apologies to current me from past me, ? Also, I'm editing this when I'm at my parents' house for Thanksgiving, and I forgot the adapter that I needed for the microphone, so enjoy this bad MacBook microphone sound so that you can fully appreciate the great work of the Kelly Writer's House Wexler Studio.
Okay, tour offices. So, tour of tour offices. First of all, they have a wall of books that you can just take, and they offer to mail me books home if I wanted to grab more. I took like 5 books, and I felt like that was too many, and my editor was like, no, you could take more.
This is how I feel about my pottery, where, like, tomorrow I'm going to bring you a bunch of pottery, and you're going to be like, oh, you shouldn't have, and I'm going to be like, no, please take it from me. I need to get rid of it.
Am I just going to leave with, like, a shopping bag full of pottery?
Yes.
Okay.
I've thought about putting a Patreon perk where I'll just send you pottery.
That's kind of good.
It would have to be, like, an expensive perk, though, because shipping pottery is annoying and expensive.
Yeah.
And, like, hard to make it not break.
$69 tier.
No.
Let's go. Wait, tour offices, 2 other things. First, there is a giant cutout of Brandon Sanderson that just is in a meeting room, and I was walking through the office, and then I got jump scared by Brandon Sanderson, and I was like, why is Brandon Sanderson here? But it was just his cutout, which was actually weirder. And then my editor was like, do you want to take a picture with that? And I was like, yeah. And then I did.
Yeah, well, now that we are in our former college, which is reminding me of a vivid, formative memory that I've probably mentioned on the podcast before because it's so weird, but one time I got broken up with while looking at a Dwayne The Rock Johnson cutout.
That's a lot. I don't know what to do with that.
This guy had a studio apartment with a Dwayne The Rock Johnson cutout, and I was being broken up with, and I was just staring at Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Did you feel like Dwayne The Rock Johnson was breaking up with you?
Yes.
I feel like that's so severely burying the lead of the relationship with someone with that cutout in their apartment in the first place. And I'm not going to grill you because this was college. I just want to say that is an incredible lead into the breakup story.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of Pavlovian thing that you think has maybe happened by having Dwayne The Rock Johnson with you in that moment?
I don't know. That's a good question. We have to really analyze this.
Hey guys, what cutout would you have in your home? You have to have a cutout in this scenario, to be clear. It is not like you can opt out of this by saying, I don't want a cutout because I'm a regular person. You have to have a cutout.
My first thought was an Isabel J. Kim cutout.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I think it would be really funny.
That would actually be good content. You could make a lot of content with that for a podcast.
What would you have? Brandon Sanderson?
Honestly, Brandon Sanderson is really good. Like, that's a really good I actually really want to know what the tour people do with it, because, like...
they probably just have it. But, like, how do they get
what
it?
What are they using? I guess they... It was probably for some promo thing. Anyway, I want Safe for Work Sasuke, specifically Safe for Work Sasuke.
Joe, what do you want?
I've been cycling through a bunch of different options here. I mean, like, you know, my immediate one was Elon Musk dartboard.
That's good.
And that way, whenever I'm angry, it's just a really convenient target to just, like, zing him right in the forehead.
But then you have to have that in your house.
That's actually the immediate drawback and what caught me up, and I got kind of stuck on this sort of, like, who would I want as a hate cutout? So I'm still kind of thinking about that. I don't think I could beat Safer Work Sasuke. Maybe Hunter S. Thompson as a reminder of the best way to comport all of my thoughts and then relay them via text.
That would be really weird to have in your house. At some point, you're getting a body pillow of me. I want you to know that.
That's so weird. I guess, is this the segue into where we talk about who Joe is because you're getting them a body pillow?
Well, the context is that, okay, the context is that I'm dating them. But the context of a body pillow is because they have a body pillow, but there's nothing. No, but just don't make that face. I'm gonna continue. There's nothing on it. It's just like a regular pillow.
Yeah, I also have a body pillow.
Yeah, well,
they make for a good headboard when you don't have a headboard.
Maybe I give you a body pillow with me on it.
That would be weirder because I'm not dating you.
Yeah, but it'd be funny.
The cutout wouldn't be weird. The body pillow would be weird.
What if you like hugged the cutout? Then it gets weird.
Someone should send us a Isabel J. Kim cutout.
You did this.
Yeah, I did this.
Yeah.
No, this is actually what I deserve. Hey, if I get famous enough, do you think they'll have a cutout of me at the tour offices?
Next to Brandon Sanderson.
Yes, there's like precedent for this. You witnessed that. That's what the conversation is about. Yeah, 100% chance that happened.
So... Should we
talk about the things that we've come here to talk about?
Yes. We wanted to talk about the 4B movement because it kind of blew up on the internet after the election of Donald Trump, RIP. But there's more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah, so we're talking about the 4B movement, and like I guess this is coming out a few weeks at least after the election, so we'll see how much this is still relevant when we're talking about it. But it is interesting, I think, from the perspective of what pops after horrific shit happens and also how things get over-exaggerated on the internet. Backstory, Amanda texted me about this being like, hey, do you know what the 4B movement is? And I'm like, damn, I actually do know what this one is. This has been a thing that's been going on in Korea for like the past few years. And by few, I think it's dates back to like the late 2010s, where it is a sort of like a radical feminist movement in South Korea. To take a step back here, calling yourself a feminist in South Korea means a different thing than calling yourself a feminist in the United States. In Korea, if you're saying that you're a feminist, that is sort of aligning yourself with like radical feminine movements more than it is just kind of like, I feel like in the States, if you call yourself a feminist, that's like some tepid leftist shit.
Yeah, it's very 2016 pink hat.
Yeah, it's very like Women's March, parentheses, appreciative.
Yeah.
But in Korea, what it means is, first of all, Korea has a gender dynamic that is very toxic and also kind of where the States is headed, which I think is also why 4B popped here in the wake of the election, and Nick Fuentes saying garbage shit on the internet, tying it back to the internet.
And we know where Nick Fuentes lives because he only blurred out his own house on Google Maps.
He's so stupid.
None of these people are smart. They're just loud online. The worst place to be loud.
Yeah, and we're loud online and smart.
We spent like 5 minutes talking about body pillows. Like, let's not get this twisted, Amanda. But yeah, so this is a radical feminist movement from South Korea that basically boils down to, let's simply not involve ourselves with men. 4B refers to no sex with men, bisex. Fun fact, a decent amount of Korean words are just English words, but you say them with a Korean accent. For example, banana.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, exactly. No giving birth, pichusan, no dating men, pione, and no marriage with men, pihon. So if you can't tell, the B here, the 4B movement, is basically kind of just like a don't do this thing. There's also more Bs.
When I told you about this, you were like, there's actually 7 Bs, and I was like, wow.
I looked this up after I told you this because I got that from a TikTok, and then I was like, actually, I should look this up before I say it for real. I think it's between 6 and 7 Bs. This is what I found from online. It's probably between 6 and 7 Bs, depending on how you count it, because basically the other 2 Bs sort of boil down to supporting women-owned businesses and supporting other women who are doing the 4B movement, basically creating community. My opinion is that this is getting out of hand.
Well, yeah,
too many Bs.
Because supporting other women isn't like a don't do this, it's a do this.
Yeah, like, I just feel like they should have stuck with their core tenets of don't bother with men. But, like, this kind of comes from the fact that, like, Korea is a deeply sexist, conservative country in a way where, like, 70 years ago, it was a third world country, and now they have, like, a top 20 GDP. Like, there's been a crazy amount of change in Korea over the last, like, 70, 80 years that, like, the social programming has not updated to where we are in society. And so women very much feel like they are crushed between demands of workplace stuff and also, like, conservative sexist demands of, like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing all this girl shit. And to begin with, Korean men are, quite frankly, useless.
That's why you have a Wikipedia page and your dad doesn't.
Exactly. No, somebody go make my dad a Wikipedia page. I promise he's nice. And also he's important. Reasons my dad should have a Wikipedia page. He was, like, the president of something in Korea and also won an award. And also he's a relevant scientist. Also one of the other guys who was the president of the thing he was has a Wikipedia page. And I think my dad is better than that guy.
and I think I deserve a Wikipedia page.
And I think Amanda should have a Wikipedia page as a host of Wow If True.
I like how when your Wikipedia page was made, a Wow If True listener, like, put in a line like co-hosts Wow If True with Amanda Silberling, and then put like a broken hyperlink on it to signal that someone should make me a page, and then the broken hyperlink got deleted, so that does not signal that someone should make a page.
You are going to have to do something Wikipedia worthy. What that is, I don't know, but I'm very excited to find out. Joe, do you want a Wikipedia page?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
I haven't done anything noteworthy.
If I get famous enough, you'll be listed on it. How do you feel about that?
Well, you'll be like unlinked.
Yeah, that's true. I think getting a Wikipedia scorned would be interesting. I would accept that experience.
Okay. I forgot what I was talking about, but okay.
So
wait.
How big is the 4B movement in Korea?
Yeah, so the thing is that the 4B movement in Korea, I was trying to look for stats on this, and I was looking for, like, numbers of how many people are involved in this. And last result relayed on Wikipedia was about 4,000 people. Korea is the size of New Jersey. It has more than 4,000 women.
How does it feel that in your life, as you lived between Korea and New Jersey, that you were living in 2 very different places that were also the same size?
I feel pretty good about it. That's actually the amount of space that I can conceptualize in my head.
Nowhere is smaller or bigger than New Jersey.
Everything is New Jersey size. You can just, like, you can measure everything in sizes of New Jersey.
We are all New Jersey.
But yeah, so, like, the interesting hurdle I was finding in coming up with a specific number is people pointing out the fact that if you call yourself a feminist in Korea, you are maybe going to get social stigma and you are going to get job repercussions and people are going to be on your ass about it. There has been violence against women. So there are people in Korea, like women in Korea, who probably don't want to label themselves as feminists, but who have similar beliefs. And also people who maybe don't want to label themselves as doing the 4B movement while still participating in it in the same way that, like, if you look up official stats of, like, how many Korean, like, men and women want to get married in their, like, 20s and 30s, it's like 60-something% of women who don't ever want to get married or don't ever want to have kids, and, like, a much lower percentage for men. It's indicative of stuff going on in Korea, and it's also indicative of the fact that, like, Korea has a super low birth rate in the sense that Korea is probably going to stop being a country unless they start having some kids. Here's how best Korea wins. Sorry, NSA, this is a joke. But all of that makes it hard to say whether the 4,000 number is just like an official number who is actually participating, or if it really is only just a vocal minority that is getting reposted online because people get really weird about women withholding access to stuff.
Do you think that the decline in birth rate, how directly is it tied to the 4B movement, or is it just that, like, people don't want to have kids?
I think it's all related to the same social pressures that create both, like, Korean, like, red pill guys and Korean radical feminists, in the sense that, like, when people are stressed and spend most of their time working and feel like they are under a lot of social pressures but feel like they can't rise to meet these social pressures because of XYZ thing, they are unhappy and they do not want to fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think actually what this is more similar to is, like, I think this comes from the same place that, like, if you look in, like, China with, like, the lying flat movement or being, like, a freeder, or, like the Satori generation in Japan, or, like, the Sampo generation in Korea, this is all responding to social pressures of like, we feel like we cannot get ahead, therefore we are going to do the bare minimum. So lying flat in China refers to, I'm going to do the bare minimum at work. I'm not going to strive for more. We're lying flat. We're not participating.
It's quiet quitting, but you're planking.
No, literally, this is all quiet quitting. This is all quiet quitting, but more extreme. Because, like, so then the Sampo generation, or like the Enpo generation, is basically giving up on, like, Sampo sere means like the 3 giving up generation. Basically, like, Korean young people being like giving up on courtship, marriage, and childbirth. And then you can keep adding things: employment, home ownership, relationships, hope, health. This is all listed on Wikipedia, by the way. There's a whole list of things that people are giving up, and I'm like, wow, Korea's doing bad. So, like, it is related to pressure from society making you not want to do things. And then if you look at like Frieders or like Satori generation in Japan, that's a similar thing where people are like, I feel like I can't get ahead, I'm just not participating. So young people who feel fucked by society, therefore they're not fucking. Does that help?
Yeah. So why is this big in America right now, and is it actually big in America?
The answer is, we love to take a couple of TikToks and make them the entire internet.
Yeah, I think what's happening with 4B in the news is that it's similar in my mind to the raw dogging flights phenomenon, where one person...
Wait, okay. If you're going to mention the raw dogging flights phenomenon, you have to talk about the... I know what you're talking about, but you have to...
I was going to explain it. I was just letting it linger.
Oh, shit. Okay.
There was, like, literally one girl on Twitter who posted, like, this guy on this flight, it's 8 hours long. He's sitting next to me. He's not playing video games. He's not watching TV. He's not reading a book. He's not looking at his phone. He's just raw dogging the flight. And then, like, maybe another person was like, oh, yeah, I saw a man do that. And then there were all these think pieces about why men are raw dogging flights. And, like, it was, like, one person posted that someone she was on a plane with was raw dogging the flight.
But you know what's interesting is that this probably did create a phenomenon of men raw dogging flights, because now they know that this is a thing they could do. Or, like, I could see this permeating the manosphere in, like, this is like a hardcore thing to do. It's like meditation. It's just me and my thoughts on this airplane. I think people probably started raw dogging flights.
I don't know, but that's like the thing, is that it's not a real phenomenon that was happening, but then it becomes real because people think piece it into existence, and I think this happens a lot.
Yo, real talk, Chugi got think pieced into existence. Oh yeah.
But that's why I love Chugi, because
this is a lot like my favorite movie, right? Like, just like Goncharov.
Exactly. No further comment on that. But so I put a Google Trends graph in the notes. Isabel, what's happening on this graph?
Okay, so basically,
it goes stonks.
We go super stonk on November 6th in this graph.
Yes, and this is the Google Trends graph of searches for 4B.
Yeah, so basically what's happened is there's very few searches until November 6th for 4B in America, and then there's a sudden wave of people searching 4B, and then it starts to taper back off.
I also thought it was funny when I was looking at this. For some reason, it was most popular in Colorado.
Huh.
Like, not by a lot. Like, it was just, like, it happened to be that.
That surprises me, because I feel like Colorado is pretty... Maybe it's like it's a blue state that's surrounded by red states. Is this anything?
I don't know. I think it was just kind of like there has to be one state where people searched it the most, and they were all pretty similar, but Colorado is at the top. So I think, on one hand, it's understandable for American women or anyone who's able to give birth that they gravitate toward this in the immediate aftermath of Trump getting elected for a second time, because even for us, this is the second time in our adult lives that there has been a presidential election that results in us being like, oh, better make an appointment with the gynecologist. And that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
You know, a hot take here. And I do think maybe we don't know how bad it's going to be yet, but we have already seen, like, Trump appointed the Supreme Court justices that made the overturn of Roe v. Wade possible, and it might get worse.
We love it when things get worse.
We love it here. So this is leading a handful of women on TikTok to be like, oh, I heard about the 4B movement in Korea and how this is a way for women to, like, reclaim power, but obviously we know it's, like, much more complicated than that. Some people have also been worried about, like, is 4B as a concept like a turfy movement?
What you gotta understand about Korea is that they were about 20 years earlier in the understanding queer shit pipeline. Yeah. So, is it turfy? Yeah, maybe. It's unclear. You know what I mean? Like, it's...
Yeah.
I don't know if that they understand about trans people in Korea yet.
Yeah, but I think a lot of this stems from the anxiety around if you get pregnant on accident, then there are a lot fewer options that may be available to women generally. Purely speculation, nothing has happened yet. I also think it's worth pointing out, this is the section of the podcast I'm calling I'm Learning About Women. Because friend of the pod, Sam, was watching me put lipstick on a couple weeks ago and was confused about what lip liner is and what liquid lipstick is as opposed to, like, the stick. Mm-hmm. And he said, quote, I'm learning so much about women right now.
I don't know what to do with that. That's really fun.
Yeah.
Hey, have you learned anything about women from hanging around my apartment and watching me podcast?
No, next question.
Oh, okay.
But I think it is worth pointing out that for people who take birth control, it's not just like, I took a pill and that's the end of it, or like, you get an IUD inserted and that's the end of it. Like, most of these things work by manipulating your hormones, which for some people works very okay. And for some people, that can be, like, a legitimate cause of concern because I have PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
Why did you say that like it was like a pill ad or like some sort of like pharma ad?
Yeah, it's like there's like TikToks that I'm seeing where they ask pharmacy students, is this a Pokemon or is it a pharmaceutical drug?
That's pretty good.
But, like, a lot of people have conditions like this where the way that birth control, like, stimulates hormones can make, like, the emotional or physical symptoms of menstruation, like, way worse. So for me, it was like, before I switched to a birth control that works differently with the hormones, it was like the week before a period, I was like, why do I feel like I want to die right now? And it would be like, why am I randomly having, like, suicide ideation for no reason? And then the next week it completely goes away and everything's fine. So, like, the stakes are high in terms of, like, the options of birth control that are available to people. And everyone's like, oh, just go get an IUD. But I'm like, well, I can't get an IUD because that might make that happen again.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, I think a lot of, like, the 4B movement in the States, for people talking about it, is just, like, like you said, like, an extension of people being like, there's less options getting pregnant, pregante,
What is that?
Gregnant. Do you know
What's Gregnant?
Do you know the videos that I'm referencing?
Yeah, no, just
No.
like getting pregant.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no idea what I'm like, is this a Homestuck thing?
I'm gonna send you a video after this, and we should link it because it's very good. But
yeah, it's just like a Ouija board.
Yeah, a Ouija board.
Yeah, a Luigi board.
No.
But, like, people feeling like if I get pregnant, my life is over and I have no options. Therefore, let's just not fuck. We're not doing fucking anymore. Nobody should be fucking.
Sentences of all time.
They pay me for my words.
They do.
I mean, I think on the thing that Amanda was talking about, one of the aspects of this that I think only permeates the parts of culture that people who are directly exposed to it is the degree to which birth control, like anything else, really is a continual medical intervention in your life. And you can't just simply be like, well, I'll go to the pharmacy and stock up on my continuous medical intervention that may require blood work and monitoring and all of that kind of stuff. And then for the next 4 years, we'll all be fine. Like, I think that lots of folks who aren't directly impacted by this assume that this is something that people with enough privilege or means can maybe find ways to work around. And that just frankly isn't true. I mean, like, not even counting the fact that, people might have to do stuff across state lines. They need to go get an abortion or get access to stuff. You can't just simply go somewhere else and then do this on your own unless you are going to approach it the same way that people do with, say, gray market hormone therapy for transition. Like you effectively need to become your own doctor if you want to try and manage a bunch of this stuff without a doctor working with you.
Yeah, and that's obviously dangerous and
And that's why nobody should be fucking.
Yeah, although, my intervention for PMDD is when you're trying to, like, get a PMDD diagnosis, you have to fill out a chart for, like, the whole cycle. And there are, like, 34 columns on the chart.
That's so many columns. That would make me suicidal.
Exactly. This is like,
I'm just saying.
It's like, it is like a 30 by 34 chart that you have to fill out. And it's like, did you want to die today? Yes or no? And then it's like part A, part B, part C, part D.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, that's my medical intervention is I think that if you are your own doctor, then don't do the chart. That's not medical advice, and this is not legal advice. But so the thing that's happening on the internet with this is that there's a lot of hysteria around in support of the 4B movement. Allegedly, women are shaving their heads to make themselves less attractive to men.
Yeah, wait, like, to back up a moment. What happened is essentially, like we said, spike in interest of 4B in the States right after November 6th, and a lot of women talking about we should do 4B movement, and then, like, a lot of counter discussion about, like, is this anything? Should we be appropriating stuff? Are people going to actually do it?
Is alienating men really going to help us or just make men feel more alienated?
I would love to alienate some men.
So I found articles in, again, these are very particular news sources, New York Post, Daily Mail, The Guardian, like a couple of legit ones, but also the New York Post and the Daily Mail, that are basically like, here's why women are shaving their heads in support of 4B. And then, of course, like, the right-wing media is very, like, the libs are losing their minds and posting a bunch of videos of, like, people crying because Trump won. Like, I was scrolling through libs of TikTok for, like, half an hour this morning, which, when I was telling Isabel this earlier, we realized that Isabel has never heard of libs of TikTok, and I think we should keep it that way.
What is libs of TikTok? Is it, like, a conservative account that's posting, like, libs of, like, people, like, having meltdowns who are, like, leftists, or is it, like,
yeah,
leftist?
pretty much.
Okay, because it was either that or it's, like, leftists on leftist ass, because leftists are... Libs are like libs' worst enemy. Like, let's be real here.
It's really funny how you can make fun of people for being libs and have very different political views.
God.
Hello, it's the mid-roll. Another year has gone by where I have not successfully convinced my family that turkey doesn't actually taste very good. So, happy holidays! Once again, shout out to the Wexler studio at the Kelly Writers House for letting us record there. This episode was very fun, and we all felt very professional, even though we were still being very deranged. And also, as you know, this is an independent podcast, and we run directly on your support, which includes your subscription on Patreon. You get Discord access, book club podcasts, which sometimes end up being about TV. Shh. And also there's a thing in there that says if you're a law student, Isabel will look at your resume, but no one has taken us up on that yet, so... take us up on that. I think it's really funny. And finally, if you have a friend who loves the podcast or who really needs help with their resume for law school, I guess, Patreon has a feature that lets you gift subscriptions now, so just throwing that out there. Speaking of independent podcasts, we are part of Multitude, an independent podcast collective, and we have a brand new show in the collective called Tiny Matters. Dive into genes, microbes, and other tiny things that have a big impact on our world with Tiny Matters. Join scientists Sam Jones and Devoki Chakravarty as they take apart complex and contentious topics in science and rebuild your understanding. From deadly diseases to ancient sewers to forensic toxicology, Sam and Devoki embrace the messiness of science and its place in the past, present, and future. Tiny Matters releases new episodes every Wednesday and is brought to you by the American Chemical Society, a nonprofit scientific organization that connects and advances chemistry and the broader scientific community. So subscribe to Tiny Matters today wherever you get your podcasts. Finally, we want to tell you about Volante Design. If you're looking for gear that makes you feel just as badass in real life as you do when you beat the big bad in a video game, look no further than Volante Design. Their high-quality handmade jackets bring main character energy into your everyday life. This is great for cosplayers because they have official licenses from series like Assassin's Creed, Devil May Cry, and Star Trek. Or if you just want to look like a badass video game character, they also have cyberpunk and modern ninja lines. So Volante Design has a jacket for whatever your lifestyle needs. For example, I guess if you're doing some ninja shit. Ethically sourced and manufactured, Volante jackets are made for quality and will last you for years to come. Go to volantedesign.us and use code WOW for 10% off your entire order. That's WOW, all caps, for 10% off your entire order. One of the best parts about having a podcast called Wow of True is getting the promo code WOW, but another great thing about having a podcast called Wow of True is that you, listener, are listening to this podcast. So back to that.
Related to that, the other thing I want to talk about on 4B is that, like, immediately people started being like, if I'm in a relationship, can I do 4B? If I'm in a relationship with a man, can I do 4B? And it's like, this one isn't for you, I think.
I think you can talk to the man you're in a relationship with and make sure that they're on the same page as you about what you want to do with your reproductive health.
But, like, is that 4B?
No.
Yeah, see, it's that's, like, a regular
But
thing.
also, you don't have to be 4B to, like, do things.
I think what's fascinating about this kind of stuff is, like, there's, like, this the cyclic nature of, like, reaction and counter-reaction. So, like, this is, like, new ground in the sense of the way that it's happening now, the way that it's being communicated online. But, like, there's a lot of echoes of the late 60s second wave feminist movement. There's lots of like stuff that like overlaps very strongly with the feminist sex wars. There was like the whole thing about like political celibacy. There's like almost definitely going to be a resurgence in things like political lesbianism, like there was in the 60s and 70s, where people are just like, simply don't fuck. You don't need to do it. You don't need it for a happy life. These are all topics that came up then as a result of like counterculture, and you're going to see the exact same arguments, I think, with sex positivity that happened in that same era. And I'm kind of curious how modernity changes that, because all this stuff has been written down and talked about. You can go online and you can like, you know, read interesting discourse about it.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting that because we're in this particular moment where a lot of the post-election discourse is like, did we alienate Gen Z men, and like male loneliness as a concept, and like I don't think it's women's job to make men not feel lonely, but I also think that like not accepting that there are a lot of men that are nice people and or men who like maybe just need a push in the right direction to not become like 4chan bros.
Yeah, some of my best friends are men. I'm actually kind of two things. First
My
of all,
brother is a man.
your brother's a man.
There are fine people on both sides.
I'm actually kind of sympathetic to, like, if you're, like, an 18-year-old guy and you've been told that, like, hey, man, guys suck all the time. Like, if people are telling you that guys suck and you're trying to do the right thing, and then there's, like, a movement that's like, hello, but what if guys don't suck and you get everything? And you're like, I get everything and guys don't suck? This is great. I'm sympathetic to that. I don't know how to fix it. My other question would be, is gooning okay under 4B?
I think yes.
Okay.
The one thing that I will also just kind of mention on this that I thought was really interesting is like right after the election, a couple of people put out think pieces and everything, but the most thoughtful one that I ended up reading was a college professor who basically just sat down with his class and then asked people to talk about what happened. Like basically just said, we're not gonna have real class today. We're gonna have a like people who feel comfortable who voted for who and just have a conversation about it. And like the interesting takeaway from it was lots of people approached this from the perspective that they were apologizing for having right-wing views that like say, you know, justified in their minds their vote in a particular direction, but like the things that they said were not really necessarily right-wing concepts. And so I think that what's kind of fascinating is you have a bunch of people who have been indoctrinated to believe that certain things align them with one particular political party, and then therefore all of this other stuff should come along with it. And so I think that like in addition to, you know, like the loneliness discussion and everything else, there's also a perspective of it benefits the right-wing political establishment to make people believe that they are being pushed in one particular direction and therefore they are aligned with this kind of stuff in a way that is not necessarily reflective of reality.
Yeah, and I think that also kind of is what Libs of TikTok does in a way, where like when I was scrolling through Libs of TikTok trying to find evidence of women shaving their head, which, spoiler alert, I found two women shave their head. There are more articles written about women shaving their heads than women that have shaved their heads, according to my research, which admittedly, I mean, I could have done this research for like 10 hours.
No, but it still sounds like there's like way less, like if that's all you found in the amount of time that you looked for it, it sounds like not a lot of people are shaving their heads. A lot of women are talking about shaving their heads, and or people are responding as if like, oh my god, the libs are shaving their heads.
Yeah, and like when you scroll through Libs of TikTok, like it makes you hate libs.
I get that.
But it's also because they're cherry picking like
the annoying ones.
Yeah, like they're taking like the top 0.01% of annoying people on the left and amplifying them. But then also sometimes they're like, can you believe this teacher is gay? And then they dox them, which is like horrific.
That's bad. I don't know. Like I'm annoyed. Like I just feel like people who are on the right should just be more okay with being annoyed. I'm annoyed by liberals every day, and I'm a liberal.
Same. I feel like there's so many examples, especially in the TikTok age, of something going viral because people are talking about it being viral, but the thing never actually happened. And like there are all these like people getting really mad because there are many reasons why somebody might be bald. Maybe they have a medical condition. Maybe they just want to be bald. And then the implication here is that shaving your head is to make yourself less attractive to men. And then that obviously upsets people. But the reason why Joe is here, not just because they happen to be here and we were like, hey, come hang out, is also because they are bald. So this is our bald correspondent, Joe, coming in to talk to us.
Love to weigh in on baldism.
Did you do this to be less attractive to men?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think that it would not make me less attractive to men. Next question.
And this has been bald correspondent, Joe.
God.
I think that the like bald discourse, specifically as it relates to like feminine attractiveness, is like I thought that we actually probably tried to get through most of this discourse with respect to presentation and like the way in which feminine attractiveness was viewed as a lens through like viewed through the masculine lens, like with Frida Kahlo. Like I thought that this thing was something we did like literally 100 years ago, and we hashed out this discussion, and we're still here having it.
Well,
you idiot! It's cyclical.
This is
we do
why
the same discussion again.
Everybody should be required to take one art history class, because this is how we ended up with like trends in the NFT art situation where they were like, what causes art to be valuable?
They really did just they really did just redo like Dadaism.
Yeah, they yeah, the
like,
crypto bros speed ran Dada.
God.
And it's like, if any of you took an art history class one time, then you would know that
like everything else, they managed to take a cool concept and make it shit. Like everything else. Like Matt Levine talks about how the entire cryptocurrency industry has been speedrunning the modern 20th century history of financial regulation and like and like realizing why all of those exist, but then doing it in the dumbest way possible and then learning nothing from it.
I think it's really funny that Barron Trump is a crypto bro.
That's good, actually. I mean, it's very bad, but like it's good.
I kind of wish he was just like some guy.
Relatedly, people are so weird about Barron Trump online. Like the people yearn for like dynasties. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like this was the first election that didn't have a Clinton or a Biden like in our lifetimes, and yet people yearn for dynasty.
I guess that's why RFK is back.
Oh no.
I like
people yearn for dynasties and I guess bears in Central Park.
I like the concept of like RFK walking into the White House and then slipping and falling on a banana and dying just because it's so cursed for the Kennedys.
If this happens, then
I didn't do it.
Final thoughts on, are people shaving their head? Is shaving your head inherently making yourself less attractive to men? The thing is that of the two videos I found of people shaving their head, one of them, this girl just kind of seemed like a little deranged, kind of was like, it wasn't professionally done. Mm-hmm. The other woman had it like done at a salon and it looked great. Like she looked really good. Some people have short hair.
Some people have short hair. That's fucked up.
And she's
they
like...
They shouldn't be doing that.
She's
this
like...
is a Christian country. Sorry, I'll stop.
I mean, you can't make that joke. It's going to be soon.
Oh, no.
I saw an article the other day about... Or not an article. It was either an article or a post. Don't quote me. I did not click on it. About
This is the problem with the media.
I'm sorry. No, but it was a point that I thought was kind of interesting, which is that, like, you know, like, blue hair and pronouns being the leftist, like...
Oh, yeah. Like
yeah.
One of my favorite video games of all time, I Was a Teenage Exocolonist, in which you quite literally are a person with blue hair whose pronouns and gender presentation you can edit at any point within the game. So it's the blue hair and pronouns game.
Exactly.
Just like real life.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah. Except you can't have any hair color but blue.
Assigned blue hair and pronouns.
Yeah, you can change your gender presentation in that game, but you cannot change your hair color. It's a great game.
Assigned hair color at birth. I guess that is actually what happens to people.
No, well, some people's hair color changes over time. Anyway.
Yeah. I was born with blonde hair with like black tips.
What?
Yeah, and then...
Hey, what the fuck is that?
Inverse frosted tips.
That's like a powerful...
I was born with inverse frosted tips, and the people were like saying to my mom in the hospital, like, did you take her to the salon? What the fuck's happening?
That's some like Darth Guy Fieri shit.
Yeah, like I feel like that's like a portent.
I was destined to be Dark Guy Fieri.
You've fallen so far from your destiny.
Hit up a diner afterwards.
Yeah.
The opposite of a diner. Dark Guy Fieri.
Right.
You gotta go do something fancy.
Dark Guy Fieri is like eating clubs. What's the fancy version of a drive-in? Eating clubs, cruise ships, and formal... This is nothing. This is nothing.
Wait, okay, but the point I was gonna make is that people were talking about, like, you know, like the blonde haircut with, like, the waves? Like,
yes.
That is the conservative blue hair and pronouns.
I like that.
Like, that's kind of right. Like,
yeah.
if you look at, like, conservative influencers, it's all, like, the blonde and, like, it's, like, a little bit wavy at the end. Honestly, kind of, like, a haircut similar to the one I had when I went to the salon and got put in the octopus.
I remember when you got put in the octopus.
I did it twice. I'm thinking about doing it again just because I'm like...
You hated the experience.
I hated the experience, but maybe I could have, like, boingy hair. Have you considered my hair could be very boingy and I could spend, like, $400 on it?
I'm going to liberate you from this by, like, you know, just shaving a line on your head when you're
I'm
asleep.
going to kill you.
Isabel shaves her head for 4B. That's where we ended up here.
Yeah, nobody should be having sex.
Yeah, nobody should be having sex, and if Isabel should shave her head, join our Patreon at patreon.com/true.
Wait, actually, can we do that?
No!
Like...
However...
I just think it would be funny. I can't be the only one to shave my head in this relationship.
You can stop at any time. You could stop getting hair bits on my stuff in the bathroom. Have you considered this? I'm just putting you on blast and, like, on my podcast.
This should be edited out. That's my vote.
On that note, shave your head. Make the media real.
Cook your chicken and NyQuil.
Don't.
Raw dog of flight. Eat a Tide Pod. It's 2016.
No one ate Tide Pods, and now I'm gonna get mad about Tide Pods, so this podcast is over.
Okay, we're done.